The truth is, you are not tired because life is hard. You are tired because you keep carrying a life you have already outgrown. You call it being careful. Your soul calls it dying in slow motion. And if this voice feels like the truth you needed and not the comfort you wanted, hit subscribe and stay close, because some messages are not for passing time. They are for saving years of your life. Most people are not stuck because they do not know what to do. They are stuck because they know exactly what they need to do, and they keep stepping back from it. They know they need to make the call. They know they need to leave the habit. They know they need to start the work. They know they need to stop hiding behind the same old story. But they keep waiting for a clean day, a calm mind, a clear sign, a perfect mood. And life does not work like that. Life keeps moving while you keep thinking. Life keeps asking while you keep delaying. Life keeps opening doors while you stand there studying the handle. Think about that. The world does not stop and hold your place while you decide if you are ready. The clock does not slow down because you are scared. The years do not pause because your confidence is low. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. And one day a man looks around and realizes he did not lose his dream in one big failure. He lost it in 1,000 small delays, 1,000 moments where he chose comfort over courage, 1,000 moments where he called fear wisdom, 1,000 moments where he said, maybe later. That is the hard truth. And I know it hits deep because some of you are not lazy, you are disappointed. Some of you are not weak. You are worn out from fighting private battles. Some of you are not hopeless. You are just tired of trying to carry pain and still smile for everybody else. I understand that. I really do. But understanding your pain cannot become your excuse for staying where your pain was built. At some point, kindness to yourself must stop sounding like soft permission to remain the same. At some point, love must tell the truth. At some point, you have to hear a voice that says, enough. Enough talking. Enough circling. Enough waiting for a life that only shows up when you do. No risk, no story. Let that settle in. No risk, no story. If you take nothing else from these words, take that. The life worth remembering, the life worth telling, the life that feels alive from the inside out, is never built in safety. It is built in movement. It is built in decisions. It is built in moments when your hands shake and you still move anyway. We admire people for the part we can see, the win, the strength, the glow. But every strong life has a hidden hallway behind it. In that hallway, there were late nights, second guesses, rejected plans, quiet tears, slow mornings, and choices that nobody clapped for. There were days when they did not know if this would work. There were nights when they felt foolish. There were mornings when they wanted to turn back. But they kept going. That is why they have a story. You do not build a story by thinking about the mountain. You build a story by taking the first step up the mountain while your legs still doubt you. You do not build confidence before the act. You build confidence after the act. That matters because too many people are waiting to feel brave before they move. But bravery is not the gift you get first. Bravery is the result of a decision. Bravery is the scar after the cut heals. Bravery is the breath you take after you survive something you thought would break you. So stop waiting for courage to drop out of the sky like rain. It does not come that way. It comes when you tell the truth. It comes when you stand up in your own life. It comes when you stop asking fear for directions. No one is coming to do this for you. No one is coming to force your discipline. No one is coming to rescue your wasted time. No one is coming to hand you your best life while you stay small enough to keep everybody comfortable. No. That may sound harsh, but it is not harsh. It is freeing. Because if no one is coming, that means the power is closer than you thought. It is not far away. It is not in somebody else's hands. It is in your next decision. It is in your next hour. It is in your next small act of honesty. The person capable of changing your life is already in the mirror, not later. Now. Not when the fear leaves. Now. Not when the world becomes fair. Now. The mirror is not waiting for your confidence. The mirror is waiting for your commitment. Think about that. The one person you have been waiting on may be the one who has been brushing his teeth in front of you every morning. Let me make it simple. Think about a push-up. Nobody gets stronger by planning push-ups. Nobody gets stronger by buying nice shoes and posting a quote. Nobody gets stronger by talking about getting stronger. Strength comes when your body meets resistance. Down and up. Down and up. Burn and growth, shake and strength. That little motion tells a big truth. You only become strong by pushing against what pushes back. Your life is the same. The hard talk you avoid might be the push-up. The first lonely week without that habit might be the push-up. The job application you are scared to send might be the push-up. The business you are afraid to start small might be the push-up. The apology you need to make might be the push-up. The boundary you need to set might be the push-up. The gym door, the book page, the camera lens, the classroom seat, the blank screen, the early morning alarm, the hard goodbye, the new city, the fresh start, the first no, the first yes. All of it is resistance. All of it is training. All of it is life asking, how badly do you want the version of yourself you keep talking about? There is no growth without strain. There is no change without discomfort. There is no new life without the death of the old pattern. No risk, no story. The safest life often becomes the saddest life because nothing truly begins there. It is a waiting room with nice chairs. It is a clean cage. It is a quiet kind of dying. A lot of people look calm on the outside because they are no longer trying anything on the inside. They are not at peace. They are parked. They are not content. They are numb. And numb can feel like peace for a little while, until a song, a memory, a birthday, a quiet night, or a look in the mirror wakes up the ache again. Then they remember. Then they feel it. Then they know there is more in them than this. The pain of trying is sharp, but the pain of never trying is heavy. One stings, the other sits on your chest. One gives you lessons, the other gives you ghosts. One says, "At least I found out." The other says, "What if?" And that question can haunt a person longer than failure ever could. What if I had started? What if I had left sooner? What if I had believed in myself earlier? What if I had not traded my best years for other people's comfort? What if I had trusted the pull in my spirit? What if I had stopped asking permission to become? Think about that. A lot of grown people are walking around crushed, not by what happened to them, but by what never happened because they kept waiting. They are carrying unwritten books, unspoken truths, unopened businesses, unhealed wounds, unfinished dreams, and unlived lives. They are exhausted by the weight of a story they were too afraid to begin. So if this hurts a little, let it hurt. Sometimes pain is not your enemy. Sometimes pain is the knock at the door. Sometimes pain is the smoke telling you the house is not safe anymore. Sometimes pain is the last good friend trying to wake you up before another year disappears. You do not need more comfort right now. You need clarity. You need a line in the sand. You need a moment where your future matters more than your fear. You need a reason bigger than your excuses. You need a private decision that says, "This version of me has had enough control." The one who quits early, hides often, delays daily, blames softly, and dreams loudly while acting weakly, that version has had enough years. No risk, no story, no stretch, no strength, no truth, no change, no decision, no direction. And if you really hear that, if you really let it hit your chest, then I want you to stop and face one question before we go any further. How much of your life have you already lost trying to stay safe? Now let's go deeper, because the battle is not only out in the world, the battle is inside. The real fight is between the part of you that wants to grow and the part of you that wants to remain familiar. Most people are not addicted to comfort because comfort feels amazing. They are addicted to comfort because comfort feels known. Familiar pain has a strange pull. Familiar disappointment has a shape you can predict. Familiar loneliness has rules you have learned. Familiar failure almost starts to feel like home. That is why people stay in jobs that crush them, friendships that shrink them, habits that poison them, and lives that drain them. Not because they enjoy suffering, but because at least they know where the walls are. They know how to survive there. They know what version of themselves is needed there. And anything new feels dangerous because new ground asks for a new identity. New ground asks for trust. New ground asks for stretch. Think about a seed. A seed can stay whole forever and never become anything. It can keep its shell. It can protect its shape. It can remain hard, closed, safe, and small. But if that seed wants to become a tree, it has to risk being broken open. It has to enter dark soil. It has to disappear before it rises. It has to lose the shape it came in. That is the part most people do not want. They want the tree without the tearing. They want the fruit without the breaking. They want the strength without the dark season under the ground. They want the story without the risk. But life does not bargain with that lie. No risk, no story. You might feel like your life is dark right now. You might feel unseen, buried, delayed, or forgotten. But buried and planted can look the same from the surface. Let that settle in. Buried and planted can look the same from the surface. The difference is what happens next. A buried thing stays dead. A planted thing breaks and grows. A planted thing pushes roots where nobody can cheer. A planted thing does not panic because the sun has not touched it yet. A planted thing trusts that the darkness has work to do too. That matters because many people quit in the soil. They quit when it gets quiet. They quit when growth is not yet visible. They quit when they are doing the right thing, but no one can see the result. They quit because they mistake hidden progress for no progress. The first week in the gym, no one sees much. The first month of reading, no one sees much. The first stretch of discipline, no one sees much. The first little savings account, no one sees much. The first lonely season after leaving what hurt you, no one sees much. But roots are not flashy. Roots are not loud. Roots do not trend. Roots are what let the tree survive the storm later. So if your life feels hidden, do not waste that season. Use it. Build the root, build the habit, build the mind, build the prayer life, build the work ethic, build the skill, build the focus, build the trust in yourself. Because if you build roots in silence, you will not beg for strength in public later. That is how a real life is made. Not by one shining moment, but by 1,000 unseen moments where you stayed faithful in the dark. The shell has to crack. That is the law of growth. The old pattern has to split. The old name has to lose some power. The old excuse has to stop sounding noble. The old fear has to stop being king. Some of you still protect the shell and call it wisdom. You say, I am being careful. No, you are delaying the life that wants to come through you. You say, I do not want to make a mistake. No, you are trying to avoid the pain that would finally teach you something new. You say, I am waiting for the right time. No, you are trying to keep your shell polished while your future goes hungry. The shell cannot feed the world. The shell cannot give shade. The shell cannot bear fruit. The shell only protects a seed until the time for breaking comes. And if the seed refuses to break, its protection becomes its prison. Think about that. The very thing that once helped you survive can become the thing that keeps you from living. Being quiet may have helped you in one room, but now it may be killing your voice. Being invisible may have kept you safe once, but now it may be starving your gift. Staying low may have helped you avoid hurt, but now it may be training you to betray yourself. We honor survival, but we cannot live there forever. At some point, what kept you alive starts keeping you small. At some point, healing asks for a new move. At some point, wisdom stops sounding like caution and starts sounding like courage. No risk, no story, no crack, no growth, no dark soil, no roots, no fruit. And let's tell the truth about fear. Fear is not always loud. Fear does not always scream. Sometimes fear sounds wise. Sometimes it sounds calm. Sometimes it sounds like, maybe next month. Sometimes it sounds like, let me get more ready. Sometimes it sounds like, I just need one more sign. Sometimes it sounds like, what if people laugh? Sometimes it sounds like, who do you think you are? Sometimes it sounds like, maybe this is enough. But listen closely. The voice of fear and the voice of wisdom are not the same. Wisdom may say prepare, but it still points you toward action. Fear says prepare forever. Wisdom says count the cost, then go. Fear says count the cost, then hide. Wisdom says learn, adjust, and move. Fear says wait until every answer is clear. One voice helps you step well, the other helps you stay still. Learn the difference. It could save years of your life. If every plan you make leads to more delay, that is not wisdom. If every dream you have ends in another excuse, that is not wisdom. If every moment of conviction turns into more silence, that is not wisdom. That is fear wearing a suit and tie. That is fear trying to sound grown, while it keeps you trapped in the same small loop. No risk, no story. Your story begins the day you stop letting fear dress itself up as common sense. A lot of people say they want freedom, but what they really want is relief. Relief is temporary, freedom is costly. Relief says, make me feel better right now. Freedom says, make me stronger over time. Relief chooses the snack. Freedom chooses the habit. Relief chooses the apology you never needed to give. Freedom chooses the honest boundary. Relief chooses the couch. Freedom chooses the walk. Relief chooses the text you should not send. Freedom chooses silence and dignity. Relief chooses the old pattern because it brings quick comfort. Freedom chooses the better path even when it feels awkward at first. There is a huge difference. If you chase relief, you may stay stuck for years. If you chase freedom, you will have to risk discomfort again and again and again. But every time you do, a little more of you comes alive. A little more of your spine returns. A little more self-respect comes back home. A little more trust in your own name begins to grow. And that matters because self-respect is not bought. It is built. It is built when you do the hard thing after saying you would. It is built when you keep one promise to yourself and then another and then another. It is built when your private life stops mocking your public words. No risk, no story. The story starts when your actions finally match the hunger in your chest. Maybe nobody taught you this. Maybe you grew up in rooms where fear ran everything. Maybe you watched people choose small lives and call it maturity. Maybe you learned to keep the peace at the cost of your own fire. Maybe every time you tried to rise, someone laughed or doubted or reminded you where you came from. I know that can shape a person. I know that can make big dreams feel dangerous. But your past may explain your patterns without giving them the right to rule your future. Let that settle in. Your past may explain your patterns without giving them the right to rule your future. You are allowed to honor where you came from without being sentenced to repeat it. You are allowed to thank old coping moves for helping you survive and still retire them because you need a stronger way to live now. The seed does not apologize for becoming a tree. The seed does not ask the soil if it is okay to rise. The seed obeys life. You must do the same. There is a version of you buried under delay, people-pleasing, excuses, and fear. There is a version of you waiting for air. There is a version of you asking for one brave move, not 10, just one. One honest conversation, one strong boundary, one clear start, one account opened, one walk taken, one application sent, one day sober, one morning early, one camera turned on, one chapter read, one shell cracked, then another, then another. So before we move on, stay with this question and do not run from it. What shell are you still calling protection when it is really a prison? Life moves in seasons, and that truth alone can change the way you suffer. Too many people think struggle means they are off track. Too many people think delay means denial. Too many people think winter means failure. But every living thing knows what a lot of grown people forget. Seasons change. Summer does not last forever. Winter does not last forever. Growth is not one straight line. It is waves. It is cycles. It is planting and waiting, working and resting, losing and finding, ending and beginning. The trouble starts when you keep judging your whole life by one season. If you judge your whole life in winter, you may call yourself dead when you are simply being rooted deeper. If you judge your whole life in spring, you may think small leaves mean you have arrived. If you judge your whole life in fall, you may panic at what is leaving, not knowing it was only making room. Think about that. A lot of your pain comes from reading the season wrong. You think because life feels slow, your dream is over. You think because people left, you are behind. You think because the work is quiet, nothing is happening. But not every quiet season is empty. Some quiet seasons are full of hidden building. Some lonely seasons are full of private healing. Some painful seasons are full of the lessons that keep your future from collapsing later. No risk, no story. Every real story has weather in it. Every real story has cold months, dark nights, and waiting fields. If you want a powerful life, you have to stop demanding constant sunshine. Winter has a purpose. Let that settle in. Winter has a purpose. In winter, the tree looks still, but still is not the same as dead. In winter, the branches stop showing off, and the roots keep doing their deep work. In winter, weak things are exposed. In winter, shallow things struggle. In winter, the earth seems quiet, but quiet does not mean nothing is happening. Some of the strongest growth happens where no eye can measure it. The same is true in your life. There are seasons when your job is not to be seen. There are seasons when your job is not to win fast. There are seasons when your job is to endure, to learn, to heal, to listen, to become steady. But many people ruin winter because they spend the whole season complaining that it is not summer. They keep looking for fruit in a time meant for roots. They keep asking for applause in a time meant for building. They keep chasing noise in a time meant for stillness. Then when the next season comes, they are not ready for it because they wasted the training. Do not waste your winter. If life has slowed you down, ask what it is trying to teach you. If the room got quiet, ask what voice you can finally hear now. If things have stripped away, ask what false support you were leaning on. If the old life is falling apart, ask what stronger foundation is being offered. Winter may hurt, but winter clears. Winter humbles. Winter shows you what can stand without fake leaves. There is a mercy in that, even when it stings. Spring asks for risk too. People act like spring is only pretty. It is not. Spring is tender, spring is fragile. Spring is the season when the first green shows up and the world can still crush it if it is careless. Spring is the first attempt, the first workout, the first video, the first sale, the first no, the first yes. The first day after the breakup when you do not go back, the first week after quitting the habit, the first honest prayer after years of silence. Spring is beautiful, but spring is vulnerable. The reason many people never see summer is because they laugh at their own spring. They say it is too small. They say it is too late. They say it should look bigger by now. They compare their first green leaf to somebody else's full tree. That is foolish. You cannot compare beginnings to harvest. You cannot compare your small, fresh courage to someone else's 10-year result. The only job of spring is to start, not to impress, not to explain. Not to prove everything at once, just to start. Some of you keep stepping on your own spring because you are ashamed of how small it looks. Stop that. Respect the beginning. Water the beginning. Protect the beginning. Show up for the beginning. No risk, no story. Spring itself is a risk. Every bud on a branch is a little act of trust, saying, I will open even though the wind still exists. Then comes summer, and summer has its own cost. Summer is the season of exposure. This is when the work is visible. This is when people start to see change in you. This is when the thing you built starts standing in the open. This is when success begins to attract eyes, voices, demands, opinions, envy, pressure. A lot of people pray for summer without realizing summer asks for maturity. It is one thing to want more. It is another thing to carry more without becoming proud, distracted, soft, or careless. If you are not strong on the inside, summer can spoil you. If your roots are weak, heat will show it. If your character is thin, more attention will expose it. This is why hidden work matters so much. This is why winter and spring cannot be skipped. The harvest weighs something. Responsibility weighs something. Success weighs something. More money weighs something. More followers weigh something. More chances weigh something. More room weighs something. If your inner life has no depth, the very blessing you asked for can break you. Think about that. Sometimes delay is protection, sometimes a closed door is mercy, sometimes the slower path is building the shoulders you need for what is coming. So stop cursing every wait. Stop calling every delay rejection. Some doors open only after the person walking through them can stand up under what is on the other side. And then there is fall. Fall is release. Fall is letting go. Fall is when the tree drops what it no longer needs. Fall is when old leaves let go of the branch so the branch can survive what comes next. This is a lesson a lot of people fight with all their might. You want new life, but you do not want to release the old life. You want peace, but you do not want to leave what keeps stealing it. You want a stronger future, but you do not want to drop the friendships, habits, patterns, beliefs, and identities that make that future impossible. Fall teaches a hard truth. Not everything that leaves is a loss. Some things leave because their season is done. Some things fall because if they stayed, they would block the next stage of your growth. Some people are grieving dead leaves and calling it loyalty. No, sometimes holding on is fear. Sometimes nostalgia is just fear with warm colors on it. Sometimes the thing you miss was only familiar, not good. Let that settle in. If you have to drag it, beg it, explain it, shrink for it, bleed for it, and betray yourself to keep it, maybe it is not meant to go with you. Fall does not hate the leaf. Fall just understands the cycle. You have to learn that too. Release is not always cruelty. Release is often wisdom. Release is often love for the life you are becoming. No risk, no story, no release, no room, no ending, no beginning, no winter, no root, no spring, no bloom, no summer, no wait. Every season asks something from you. Every season risks something. Every season has a lesson for the person willing to grow. The problem is not that your life has seasons. The problem is that you keep trying to live one season forever. You want the comfort of winter, the beauty of spring, the reward of summer, and none of the release of fall. You want all gain, no grief, all harvest, no pruning, all reward, no waiting. But a strong life is not built by cheating the season. It is built by meeting each season with the right spirit. In winter, become patient. In spring, become brave. In summer, become disciplined. In fall, become willing to release. That is how a whole life is built. That is how you stop panicking every time life changes shape. Because life will change shape. Friends change. Bodies change. Work changes. Dreams change. Desires change. Doors change. Directions change. The question is not whether change will come. The question is whether your character can meet it. Weak people break in transition because they worship control. Strong people grow in transition because they practice trust, effort, humility, and adjustment. They do not cry over every leaf. They do not idolize every old season. They listen, they learn, they move, they ask, what is this season asking from me? What must I build here? What must I release here? What must I stop begging for here? What must I trust here? That is a better question than why is this happening to me? Why often keeps you passive? What now makes you powerful? What now gets you moving? What now turns suffering into wisdom? Many of you are in a season right now that you never would have chosen. Maybe it is a season of silence. Maybe it is a season of loss. Maybe it is a season of rebuilding after you failed in front of people. Maybe it is a season of starting over when your age makes you feel like you should already be further ahead. Maybe it is a season where everyone else seems to be moving while you are still trying to find solid ground. Hear me clearly. You are not behind just because your path looks different. You are not finished just because this chapter hurts. You are not cursed just because a door closed. A door closed, that is all. Sometimes a door closes because that room cannot hold your next life. Sometimes a thing breaks because it is too weak for what you are becoming. Sometimes a loss arrives because your hands were too full to receive what is next. There is pain in that, yes. I am not making light of it. Some endings rip through you. Some goodbyes leave a hole. Some delays make you question yourself. Some seasons are so quiet that your own thoughts start to sound loud. I know that. But pain is not proof that you are off course. Often pain is the price of being reshaped. No risk, no story, and no season is wasted if it forms your character. So stay with this now. Let it reach the place in you that has been fighting reality. Are you grieving a season that was only meant to train you? Now let's talk about one of the deepest prisons in the world, because a lot of lives never bloom for this very reason. The prison is not made of walls. It is made of other people's opinions. It is made of old labels. It is made of the fear of being seen. There are people who would rather live half alive than be fully visible and judged. Think about that. They would rather betray themselves quietly than disappoint someone loudly. They would rather keep a small, safe image than step into a large, honest life. They would rather hold in the truth than risk shaking the room. They would rather live for approval than die for purpose. And it slowly destroys them. Because the real you cannot breathe inside a role built for somebody else's comfort. The real you cannot grow while it keeps asking the crowd for permission. The real you cannot speak while it is busy measuring every word by who might dislike it. That is not life. That is performance. That is a long-acting job with no paycheck and no peace. If you keep performing for people who do not even know your heart, one day you will wake up and realize you built a life around being accepted, not around being true. And accepted and true are not always the same thing. Sometimes truth costs claps. Sometimes purpose costs comfort. Sometimes growth costs belonging to old circles. Sometimes self-respect costs access. No risk, no story. One of the greatest risks you will ever take is the risk of being yourself in a world that rewards copies. Imagine a magnifying glass in the sun. If the light is scattered, it warms a little and changes nothing. But if the light is focused, It becomes powerful enough to burn through paper. Your attention is like that. Your life is like that. A scattered man leaks power. A focused man builds things. But focus has enemies. Noise is an enemy. Distraction is an enemy. People-pleasing is an enemy. Endless comparison is an enemy. Trying to be loved by everybody is an enemy, because the moment you try to keep all doors open, you stop walking through the one door that matters. You cannot build a strong life while spending your best energy managing how you are received. You cannot create while refreshing for approval. You cannot stand tall while checking every face in the room to see if you are allowed to. Let that settle in. If your whole mood can be moved by who approves of you today, then your life is still in somebody else's hands. That is too expensive. That is too dangerous. That is too fragile. No wonder you feel tired. You are trying to carry your life while dragging a crowd behind you. That weight will break your back. The work is already hard enough without also trying to keep every observer pleased. Real peace starts the day you stop treating approval like oxygen. It is not oxygen. You can live without it. You may ache without it for a while, yes, but you can live, grow, build, rise, and become without it. What you cannot do is become who you were made to be while staying chained to it. Every time you silence the truth in you to keep the room calm, you pay. Every time you laugh when your spirit is hurt, you pay. Every time you say yes when your whole body wants to say no, you pay. Every time you dim your gift because somebody insecure might feel uncomfortable, you pay. Small payments at first. A little resentment here, a little heaviness there, a little confusion, a little anger, a little numbness. But over time, the bill grows. You start to lose trust in yourself. You start to feel fake in your own skin. You start to resent people for needs you never voiced. You start to feel tired in rooms where nothing wrong is being said because the wrong thing is what you keep refusing to say. Think about that. The outer peace you keep buying may be costing your inner peace. That is too high a price. If your peace depends on self-betrayal, it is not peace. It is submission. It is fear wearing soft colors. Some of you are starving not because life denied you food, but because you keep serving everyone else from your own plate and then wondering why you feel weak. Boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are truth with a backbone. Boundaries are love that refuses to turn into self-loss. Boundaries are the line that says, I can care for you without collapsing myself. A lot of people will not like the stronger version of you because the stronger version of you cannot be used in the same old way. Good, let them adjust. It is not your job to stay broken so other people can remain comfortable. And listen, this is not about becoming cold. It is not about becoming proud. It is not about turning into a hard-hearted person who trusts no one. No, this is about alignment. This is about your words matching your values, your time matching your goals, your daily choices matching the future you claim you want. Alignment feels clean. Alignment feels strong. Alignment lets you sleep. Alignment lets you speak without twisting yourself into knots. But alignment will ask you to risk a lot. It will ask you to risk disappointing people. It will ask you to risk losing old roles. It will ask you to risk being misunderstood by those who only liked the version of you that was easy to control. It will ask you to risk saying, this no longer works for me. It will ask you to risk starting over in rooms where nobody knows your old name. It will ask you to risk being alone for a little while instead of falsely surrounded. It will ask you to risk being called selfish when you are really just becoming honest. No risk, no story, no truth, no freedom, no focus, no fire. The very life you want requires the very honesty you keep postponing. And let us be plain about this too. The crowd forgets quickly. The opinions you fear are not even as permanent as they feel. People talk, then get tired. People judge, then move on. People react, then scroll to something else. You are sacrificing whole years for comments that cannot even stay alive in someone else's mind for a week. Think about that. You are building a prison out of passing weather. You are obeying voices that change with the hour. You are handing your future to people who are still confused about their own. That makes no sense. The person who mocks your discipline today may envy your peace tomorrow. The person who doubts your dream today may ask for advice later. The person who resists your boundary today may respect you more because of it a year from now. And even if they never do, so what? Their approval was never meant to be the steering wheel of your life. You were not born to be harmless to everybody. You were not born to be easy to define. You were not born to shrink every time your growth makes someone else question their own lack of courage. You were born to become. You were born to answer the pull in your chest. You were born to use the life in you before the clock runs out. And that means you will have to get comfortable being misunderstood for a season. You will have to get comfortable with some empty chairs. You will have to get comfortable with the simple truth that not everyone gets front row access to your next chapter. Maybe the reason your chest feels tight lately is because your true self has been knocking from the inside for too long. Maybe the restlessness is not a problem to fix. Maybe it is a message to obey. Maybe your life feels heavy because you are trying to carry a false version of yourself that was only meant to help you survive a certain season. Maybe your spirit is tired of the act. Maybe your silence is expensive. Maybe your smile has become a mask. Maybe the reason you feel drained around certain people is not because you are weak, but because every meeting asks you to leave pieces of yourself at the door. Let that settle in. If a room demands your shrinking, it is not a room built for your blooming. If a relationship punishes your honesty, it is not a safe place for your soul. If a path requires you to betray your values to stay on it, it is not your path. Stop trying to force your life to fit where your spirit cannot breathe. No risk, no story. Some stories begin the moment a person finally says, "This is who I am, this is what I value, this is where I am going, and I can survive who likes it and who does not." So stay here with this one. Do not rush past it. Whose voice are you still obeying when your own life is asking more of you? Now we come to the place where change gets real, because ideas without action become another form of escape. A lot of people love the feeling of being inspired, but they do not love the work of becoming reliable. Inspiration is beautiful, but it is not enough. Inspiration can start a fire, but discipline keeps it burning when the room gets cold, and life gets cold. That is why your future cannot be built on mood. If your action depends on how you feel, your progress will always be fragile. Some mornings you will feel strong, some mornings you will feel empty. Some days you will feel certain, some days you will feel confused. Some nights you will want to quit for no good reason at all. That is normal. The question is not whether your feelings will change. The question is whether your standards will. Think about a man laying bricks. One brick does not look like much. It is not exciting. It is not dramatic. It does not look like a house. It just looks like one small heavy thing being set in place. But if he sets one brick well, then another brick well, then another brick well, over time walls rise, rooms form, and one day there is shelter where there used to be open ground. That is how your life changes, brick by brick. One early wake up, one workout, one saved dollar, one page, one practice round, one hard call, 1 hour of focused work, one honest no, one kept promise. One night you choose sleep over chaos, one morning you choose purpose over drift, brick by brick, no risk, no story, no daily brick, no house. This is why small things matter more than proud speeches. The little things are voting every day for the person you become. Every choice casts a vote, every delay casts a vote, every habit casts a vote. Every kept promise says, "This is the kind of man I am becoming." Every broken promise says something too. Self-respect is built from evidence, not wishes, not intentions. Evidence. When you tell yourself you will wake up and then you do. Evidence. When you tell yourself you will not text that person and then you do not. Evidence. When you say you will train and then you train. Evidence. When you say you will study and then you study. Evidence. When you say you will save and then you save. Evidence. Confidence is not magic. Confidence is memory. It is the memory of seeing yourself do what you said you would do. It is the memory of surviving hard things. It is the memory of being tested and not folding. That is why discipline is love, real love, not soft love that lets you drift. Strong love that says, "I will not keep handing my future to my weakest mood." Strong love that says, "I deserve a life I can respect when no one is watching." A lot of people want to feel better, but a better feeling often comes from better evidence. Build the evidence, build it one boring, faithful day at a time. Let that settle in. Boring is underrated. Boring is where empires are built. Boring is where bodies change. Boring is where debt gets paid. Boring is where skills grow. Boring is where a broken mind learns steadiness again. Do not wait for the giant chance if you are ignoring the daily chance. The giant chance is often just the daily chance repeated long enough. People see the one moment and call it luck. They do not see the years of repetition hiding underneath that moment. They see the body and do not see the missed junk food. They see the business and do not see the years of low sales. They see the speaker and do not see the nights of self-doubt. They see the peace and do not see the boundaries. They see the strong marriage and do not see the little acts of patience. They see the confident person and do not see the old fears that had to be faced one by one. No risk, no story. The story is not written in one big day. The story is written in 10,000 small choices that nobody posts. That is why you cannot keep treating your habits like side details. Your habits are your story in slow motion. Your mornings are your story in slow motion. Your private choices are your story in slow motion. Your spending is your story in slow motion. Your sleep is your story in slow motion. Your focus is your story in slow motion. You are not waiting for your story to begin. You are living it now. The question is what story your days are writing while your mouth keeps promising another one. Think about that. If a stranger watched your last 30 days without hearing your goals, what future would they predict for you? That answer tells more truth than your vision board ever could. And this is where a lot of people get trapped. They say, "I need a fresh start." Sometimes you do. But more often, what you really need is a faithful next step. Fresh starts are nice because they feel dramatic. New month, new week, new journal, new shoes, new app, new speech. But many lives do not change because they worship the feeling of restart more than the practice of follow-through. They begin and begin and begin and never become. Do not become a professional beginner. Become a finisher. Become the kind of person who keeps showing up after the feelings fade. Become the kind of person who can do a simple thing on a hard day. That is power. Anybody can feel fired up for one night. Not everybody can stay steady for 6 months. Not everybody can keep laying bricks when nobody is cheering. Not everybody can keep watering the ground before anything green appears. Not everybody can stay loyal to a promise after the first wave of excitement leaves. But you can. That is not a gift reserved for a few special people. That is a standard available to anyone willing to train it. Start small if you must, but do not stay small out of laziness. Start messy if you must, but do not stay messy out of fear. Start tired if you must, but do not let tired become your whole identity. No risk, no story, no consistency, no climb, no follow-through, no future. Here is another truth that can save you. Your next level will demand a different relationship with time. Weak people spend time. Strong people place time. Weak people drift through hours and wonder where life went. Strong people assign hours and tell life where to go. That does not mean every minute is perfect. It means your day is no longer treated like scrap paper. It means you stop handing your best energy to random noise. It means you stop making every urge a command. It means you learn to say, not now. It means you stop living like your time grows back. Because it does not. Money can return. Energy can return. Confidence can return. Time never returns. That is why wasting time is so dangerous. It feels harmless in the moment. Just one more hour. Just one more scroll. Just one more excuse. Just one more week. But the bill arrives later, and it is brutal. A body you do not recognize. A bank account that tells the truth. A dream that now feels far away. A voice inside you that has grown quiet from being ignored too long. Think about that. Time does not usually leave in a storm. It leaves in teaspoons. That is why strong people become guardians of their days. Not rigid, not joyless, just awake, aware, intentional. They know that ordinary hours build extraordinary lives. They know that what seems small today becomes the shape of a life tomorrow. No risk, no story. The risk may be getting up earlier, turning the phone off, saying no to the wrong room, or saying yes to the hard work, but that risk is the doorway, always the doorway. And if you fail? Good question, because fear always asks it. If you fail, then you learn. If you fail, then you adjust. If you fail, then you gain data. If you fail, then you become harder to fool and stronger to break. Failure is not the end unless you turn it into identity. Failure is an event, not a name. Failure is feedback, not a final home address. The only failure that truly steals a life is the failure to engage at all, the failure to begin, the failure to respond, the failure to step in the ring. Every strong person you admire has failed more than most people ever attempt. That is why they carry a different kind of calm. They have met pain and found out they can survive it. They have embarrassed themselves and found out the earth kept turning. They have lost and found out losing did not erase them. That is freedom. The fear of failure shrinks when you stop treating failure like a death sentence. No risk, no story, and no failure, no depth. Sometimes your greatest asset later will be the thing that humbled you now. It taught you to prepare. It taught you to listen. It taught you to stop bluffing. It taught you to respect the process. It taught you to become the kind of person who can hold what you ask for. That is not a waste. That is tuition. Pay it and learn. So what should you do now? Do the next right thing, not the whole life plan. The next right thing, the alarm, the walk, the message, the application, the budget, the study hour, the drink of water, the quiet prayer, the apology, the hard truth, the deleted number, the closed tab, the open book, the first sale call, the first rep, the first draft, the first sunrise you actually meet instead of sleep through. The next right thing, then do it again tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after that. Stack it, protect it, respect it, because routine becomes character, and character becomes destiny. People love big secrets. There are no big secrets. There is only truth repeated. There is only action repeated. There is only courage repeated. There is only risk repeated. No risk, no story. If that phrase lives in you long enough, it will start changing what you tolerate. It will change how long you delay. It will change what you call acceptable. It will change what your future gets to expect from you. So I want you to sit with this now and not avoid it with another excuse. When your future self looks back at the choices you make tonight, will he see another delay? Or will he see the first brick of the life you keep saying you want? There is one more thing we need to face, and it may be the biggest one of all. A lot of people do not really need more information. They need a funeral. They need to bury the old excuse. They need to bury the old identity. They need to bury the version of themselves that keeps using yesterday as a hiding place. Because you cannot become new while keeping the old lie on life support. At some point you have to say, that version of me carried me this far, but he cannot carry me further. The version who always delays. The version who runs to comfort. The version who needs everybody's blessing. The version who panics in silence. The version who quits when the result is slow. The version who talks big and acts small. That version has had enough years. Let him go. Mourn if you need to. Feel the loss if you need to. But do not drag him into your next chapter and then act surprised when the same pain follows you there. No risk, no story. No death of the false self, no life for the true self. The caterpillar does not keep negotiating with the cocoon. At some point, the old shape has to end. At some point, the old movement has to stop. At some point, the old limits have to split. Transformation is not polite. It costs something. It confuses some people. It makes you lonely for a while. It asks for faith when there is no applause. But it is still worth it. It is more than worth it. It is the only way to stop living beneath yourself. Imagine your future self for a moment, not the fake polished image, but the real one, the one who did the work, the one who got stronger, the one who told the truth, the one who stopped running, the one who became steady. He is not standing there laughing at your fear. He understands it. He remembers the nights you almost gave up. He remembers how small the first step felt. He remembers the shame, the doubt, the long wait, the empty room, the private tears. He knows exactly what this moment costs. And from where he stands now, he is not asking you to be perfect. He is asking you to be brave long enough to begin. He is asking you to choose the pain that builds over the comfort that rots. He is asking you to trust that one true step today is worth more than 100 beautiful plans that never leave your head. Think about that. Your future is not yelling at you. It is pleading with you. It is saying, please stop making me pay for your need to feel safe. Please stop delaying the life we both know is possible. Please stop asking fear for one more opinion. Please stop rehearsing failure and call it preparation. Please stop wasting the gift while pretending you need a little more time. Time is already moving. The question is whether you are moving with it. Picture the life that becomes possible when you stop breaking your own trust. Picture waking up in a body that feels earned. Picture walking into a room without needing everybody to clap because your confidence is no longer borrowed. Picture opening your bank app without dread because you learned to rule your habits. Picture doing work that means something because you stopped abandoning your own gift. Picture peace, real peace, not the numb peace of avoiding everything, the earned peace of a man whose private life and public words no longer fight each other. Picture calling your mother, your father, your brother, your friend, your child, your future child, and knowing that the cycle changed with you because one day you got tired of passing fear down like family furniture. Picture the look in your own eyes when you realize you are finally becoming someone you would have needed years ago. Let that settle in. That life is not built by luck, it is built by days. It is built by choices. It is built by risk. No story, no courage, no chapter, no truth, no peace, no discipline, no freedom. The life you admire in your mind is not mocking you. It is inviting you, but invitations expire if they are ignored long enough. And yes, there will still be hard days. I will not lie to you. There will be days when the old voice comes back. Days when comfort whispers. Days when the old pattern makes one more sales pitch. Days when the new life feels far away. Days when progress seems slow. Days when you question whether all this effort matters. On those days, do not make giant emotional speeches. Go back to the simple truths. Go back to the brick. Go back to the seed. Go back to the season. Go back to the push-up. Go back to the magnifying glass. Go back to the mirror. Go back to the words that cut through the fog. No risk, no story. Say it when the bed feels stronger than the mission. No risk, no story. Say it when your hand hovers over the old habit. No risk, no story. Say it when the silence feels heavy. No risk, no story. Say it when you want to quit because nobody sees the effort yet. No risk, no story. Let that phrase become a blade that cuts excuses before they grow roots. So rise. Rise before you feel ready. Rise while your voice still shakes. Rise while the room still doubts you. Rise when it is awkward. Rise when it is lonely. Rise when the result is small. Rise when the old life begs for one more day. Rise when the weather changes. Rise when the crowd goes quiet. Rise when your own thoughts try to drag you backward. Rise because your story is worth more than your comfort. Rise because your future is starving for your courage. Rise because your children, your name, your peace, your purpose, your own reflection deserve a man who finally answered the call. This is not the hour for another promise without proof. This is not the hour for another speech to yourself. This is not the hour for another delay dressed like wisdom. This is the hour for a step, one true step, one brave step, one costly step, then another, then another. Let the world say what it says. Let fear say what it says. Let the old self say what it says. You move, you become. No excuses, no drifting, no shrinking, just truth, just courage, just becoming. No waiting, no hiding, no quitting, just risk, just work, just story. No fear as master, no comfort as king, no wasted years, just one life, one decision, one unstoppable becoming.